Okay, welcome everyone to our special event. Whoa, gone too early. Special event, the August 2020 Speaker Academy graduation. This is I think I did write this down. This is, I think, our 6th cohort on Speaker Academy, and the 7th started a couple of weeks later and has also just finished in the US, but they haven't had their graduation just yet. So this is being run under the auspices of the London Salesforce developers. I think we're due a name change because the name has stayed the same for a little while. So I think all the user groups are having to change, the dev groups and admin groups and etc. are having to change their names. But that's what we're known as at the moment. And there's our hashtag and our Twitter handle, which is remarkable. Again, getting that in. It only took us 5 years. So what we're going to do, so we've had a bit of a chat. Do a little bit, I've got a couple of slides of community news. Then Julie and I will talk a little bit about Speaker Academy. Then we'll have our 3 graduates, and we've got no names there, so I'm going to let Julia choose who goes when. Oh. She can be the bad person for that, upset people. Then what we'd normally do in this is we'd have anyone got any questions about Speaker Academy, which in the past myself and Jodie would have been answering. And I thought this year it might be more interesting for people to have a chance to ask the graduates what their thoughts were about how they got on, how much effort they had to put in, how hard it was, etc., etc. And they didn't know this, so this is a lovely surprise for them that they're going to be answering questions afterwards. So we always like to keep them out of their comfort zone. And then we'll do a bit more chit chat, a bit more beer if anyone wants to hang around for a chat, and then that will be it. Okay, so a little bit about Speaker Academy, which is me first, and then I'm going to hand over to Julia. So as I say, we started it a few years ago when our 6th cohort started in July 2016, involving myself and Jodie Wagner. The aim was simple: to get more speakers, to get every event was kind of had the same old faces, not for any particularly sinister reason. It was just the same people were putting forward the talks, and for whatever reason people weren't confident about talking. So we decided that we would run something to try and get people a bit more confidence, give them some tips and advice. It went down quite well. So well, in fact, that I regularly don't get selected to speak at events now, which is great in one way and not so great in another. But hey ho. It is a 6-week course, which has a duration of, I put 1-ish hour. It was never quite 1 hour. It always sort of seemed to go 5 or 10 minutes over. In previous rounds, we went nearer 2 hours a time, but we've managed to cut that down nicely. I think we extended it by a week, which made quite a difference to that. So 2 hours is quite a lot to give up of an evening. 1 hour isn't too bad at all. And there's a little bit of homework. And it's, as I say, it's a 6-week course, and it starts off with us doing a lot of facilitating, a lot of presenting, a lot of telling people what to do. And they start off with a little bit of homework, and then things ramp up. So their initial homework is to come up with a couple of ideas. Then they build out the titles and the abstracts and then the talks. So over time, the amount that we talk goes down, and the amount that they talk goes up until the last 2 weeks, which isn't really represented by this slide, but hey ho. The last 2 weeks is basically them just giving us their talks and us giving them feedback on those talks, critiquing them. We've run it in various different ways, but the feedback we've always had is that what people find the most valuable is going through a talk and then getting the feedback on that. So we focus on that for the last 2 weeks. And we also kind of get them to do more than we used to try and ensure that they're getting the full benefit of our experience, I guess. I'm not going to share the sign-up link at the moment because we still have 30-odd people on it from the last time that I shared it, but that will come out at some point in time when we decide when we're doing our next round of it. If you don't get selected, then don't be disheartened. You'll be nearer the front of the queue for the next time around. And as I say, it's 30-odd on there, so it might only take 3 or 4 years in order to get to the top of that, so that's pretty good, isn't it? And that's really all I wanted to say about it, so I'm going to hand over to Julia now.
Amazing. Thank you, Kier.
I'm going to stop sharing as well.
Oh, no, my slides are in there. Or do you want to just...
Oh, do you want me to... Okay, I'll carry on.
Yeah, why not? It's just 2 slides. They're not very complicated.
Okay, just one moment.
Either way, I'm happy to share if that's easier.
Yeah, I've seemed to have lost Zoom. I've got Google Sheets.
I can share. I have it open. No worries. Just give me 1 sec. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Amazing. So you see some familiar faces here.
Down the front, I must say.
So I did this Speaker Academy program 3 years ago. I was in the 2nd group of it. And ours was in person at Salesforce Tower. And I think Christy had just started around that time at Salesforce and was super supportive of us, which was great. And before doing the course, I was not very confident as a speaker at all. And doing it really, really helped me to feel more confident about submitting talks and getting to know people in the community. I was quite new to London at the time. So it was a pretty big event for me in my time in the community here in London. Oops, next slide. And then this was my first time facilitating it. You placed one American woman with another, and Jody and Amber led the American cohort, and Kira and I led this one. And it was a real honor to be facilitating other people and giving feedback. We had 6 incredible students, and they really amazed me. And I think because we started it in the middle of COVID, and everyone was quite isolated during that time, and I didn't have any like ongoing social engagements, it was a really nice break in the week where I got to see the same people and hear how they were doing. And we had people in the UK and India, where Deepika was, which she's going to talk about later, and also in Germany. So it was a really nice mix of people. Everyone was super supportive, super creative. And Kira and I kept joking that we felt like they didn't really need our support because they were so good from the onset. And I'm really excited for them to share their talks today, and to just share with you really what they've learned and be nice to them, because this is some of their first talks, but I think they're very polished, even with it being their first talks. And I think we're gonna switch over to them now. Kira, unless there's anything else you want to say.
No, nothing else from me.
Okay.
Choose your first victim.
I know, I feel like this is a lot of power to choose. Savannah and I were talking earlier, and I was like, I don't know what the order is. I assume Kira will pick. Let's do Mark first.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mark. Does Mark have presenter already, Kira?
Yeah, you should be a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Perfect.
You seeing that?
Yep.
All right. So this talks about asynchronous processing and some of the problems that you can have with that, particularly when you have a lot of automation on your org, and how we kind of got around that using platform events. And if this would click. Yeah, so just kind of as you add more and more automation on your org, it can get quite slow. And we had a particular problem with a large charity in the Nordic regions, where we were doing some automation, and it was kind of slowing things down quite a bit. And then we used platform events to kind of mitigate that problem. And then also I'm going to talk about some things you might want to consider if you do want to use this kind of platform event solution to kind of to do automation. Okay, so yeah, this is me, Mark Richmond. I'm a technical architect at a Salesforce partner called Give Clarity. So we solely focus on the non-for-profit charity organizations, mainly working with MPSP in the kind of fundraising space. And a couple of icons here. So I used to be a DJ in my school days. I'm actually also a coach for my son's under-9 football team. And that's me and my 2 kids. We lived in Australia there for a couple of years. Yeah, and that's probably been working in Salesforce for probably too long now. Okay, so then this is basically the problem that we encounter. So to kind of talk through this flow here. So we're working with a large charity who are processing 300,000 payments in one day. And basically what happens is they use MPSP and they generate 300,000 opportunities. And then we have our Clarity banking app here that's generating like a file, like a flat file that's then sent to the bank. And then the bank basically responds back with a success for our payment file, which is all great. And then what happens is there's some automation, and they either mark the opportunity as closed lost, we've received that payment, and then it does some other field updates, or else they mark the opportunity as closed. close loss, and then we kind of close the recurring donation, so we don't take any more payments. So that was all fine, but what we kind of hit here is when we started to run this the first time, there was kind of lots of automation going on in here and some other stuff happening at this processing point. So that whole process took 24 hours, which wasn't great. And we kind of expected this to happen, so we were kind of waiting just to kind of get a baseline number, which is what we got. So we kind of went back to the drawing board a bit because we knew that in the future that they'd want to add in some other automation, probably like email alerts, and particularly if the donation or the payment didn't go through, they might want to send an email to the donor, to ask them, do they want to change the frequency or maybe pause and take a payment break for 3 months or so, and then also maybe create up some tasks with like internal people to follow up with them donors. Okay, so yeah, so obviously this was already taking 24 hours, and then adding in this other automation was going to extend that even more. Okay, so what did we do? So we basically took it up to the bit where we're taking the payment or processing the response file, and then we put in a platform event. So the payment was processing the payment, creating a platform event, and then hooking off. It was actually Process Builder we used at the time because we couldn't use Flow to do this automation as an after step. And what that gave us then, we were able to basically do the processing within 3 hours, and then kind of offset this other process and done it in 4 hours. So it went from 24 hours down to a total of 4 hours to get everything through, which is quite an improvement. And then it obviously gives the customers the ability to add on to this as well. They can add on their email alerts through using Process Builder or probably Flow now. Okay, then just to explain what this is and what a platform event is. So what a platform breakdown to is, you've got an event producer up here who is like something's happened, and we got an event bus which kind of sits in the middle, which the event producers create the platform events, which is the bus, and then we've got the event consumers, which when something goes into that bus, the event consumers consume that and do something. So the flows and the process builders in this case. So playing that back onto this flow that the process that we talked about. So we got the producer who processes the file, and then that creates the platform event, which is the bus here, which then triggers our process builder to do the the updates or the automation that we required. Okay, and then we kind of, obviously this is great, but there was some key criteria and some key design decisions you would need to consider if you wanted to take this kind of asynchronous approach. So one of them is there's no rollback. So once you trigger this platform event and you get this bus, this bus is going to go, and there's no coming back. Once that ship sails, it's gone. The other things that we've seen was there's no prior values, and what I mean by this is, if you can imagine, once this record's being processed, like the opportunity is closed won, if you needed to change or check the stage prior, for example, you wouldn't be able to see that, because that would be saved over here and be already committed to the database. So you can't use like prior values. If anybody's used Flow or Process Builder, check is prior. You can't use that formula. And then the other one is, because we're kind of splitting the transaction between here and here, there can be a delay. So generally, if it's on platform, it's probably only seconds, if not minutes, depending on the volumes, for this happen. But if it gets quite large volumes, millions of records, like this, could be a quite substantial delay. And then some other things that we kind of encountered, some other gotchas or rabbit holes that we went down. We kind of got into infinite loops. So a platform event was actually triggering another platform event, and it just kept going and going and going. We actually had to disable process builders and all to get out of that hoop. And then error handling is not great. You do kind of have to build around that. And we do get the flow error emails if your process builder fails or your flow fails, which are okay, but obviously not great. And then there is some Salesforce limits that you'd need to consider in terms of the number of platform events you can actually create on your org. And then, yeah, just finally, some key takeaways that we've taken away from this. So, yeah, any automation you add in order, there's obviously a cost to it. The more and more you add, the more technical debt you get, the more of these processes, or the longer these processes are going to take. And then the thing to consider if you're wanting to use this platform events approach, like I was first asked, like, do you need this update to happen now, or could it potentially happen later? In other words, asynchronously. And then the added benefit, if you do use this platform event approach, we can make use of flow, which means we don't need to write code to kind of do these kind of asynchronous processes. And that is it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. That was great.
Thank you.
Very, very well done. And well done recreating your slides.
Yes. I lost them yesterday. Panic.
Oh no.
It looks even better. So I'm impressed that you were able to do that from a video so quickly.
Just applying a bit of pressure to yourself. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Great job, Mark. So next, I think, Deepika, if you're ready, would you like to go next?
Yes, I am.
So you should be a presenter, Deepika. You should be able to share.
Yep.
Perfect.
How about like everybody can see my screen?
Yep. Perfect.
Hi and good evening, everyone. I hope everybody is doing good and had a good time. So my name is Deepika Kalyani, and today I'm going to present my presentation on that is Expect the Unexpected. I'm a Salesforce administrator. I've been working now 3.5 years. Along with Salesforce, I'm an artist. I love doing paintings and all. And I love traveling as well, so I like to explore this. So this is the prior COVID thing when I had already pre-booked my holidays. And this is my great adventure story where I'm taking you off the Salesforce topic and just getting to know what you're going to see. This is not just my adventure holiday, but what happens when something adventure or something comes up in your life, and how do you handle it, how do you take it. So I'm going to present on that. So what's the biggest learning from this pandemic is that nothing in our hands, but we still have to watch them. So what happens in a life like where you are landing in a totally new countryside where you will have lost your passports and your hotel is about to shut down and you don't know what exactly is to be done. This is when happened when I had pre-planned my holidays and I was supposed to travel to the Europe in Belgium for the first time. And I was very excited from London to go to Belgium. So here I go to Belgium. I was sitting very first trains in tube lines in Belgium, and my phone happened to fall down. And to my demise, I thank the person who gave my phone, but apparently he was like stealing my phone. So that was my first sign of the adventure. That's how it begins. So I happened to carry on forward from there, and I enjoyed my Belgium holidays. And I was after this, I was supposed to go to Amsterdam, and welcome to Amsterdam, where my real adventure of my story begins. As soon as I land in Amsterdam, I happen to know that my bag of passport has been stolen, and I'm really like, I don't know, because I'm not a European citizen. So what is to be done? So I lodge an FIR report in the police station. And since it was a COVID happening, we just had two options from there. You either go to Indian embassy where it belongs to, and they told me that either I'm supposed to go to Paris for getting my passport on, which was an overnight journey from there, and or I was supposed to go to India. Since this was on all of the sudden issues, I had to take the fluke decisions, and I told, okay, let me go to India, where they gave me easy, and I was supposed to travel one-time travel basis. So I happened to go to India after this, and I welcome to more and more troubles. As soon as I land up in India, after getting my things, I thought, oh, I come to my country, I will be done smoothly these things. But after 100 years, we get to see this pandemic, and that's how everything changes. The whole world is full of hassles, and a lot of things been ups and downs. So as soon as I come to India, very next day, the lockdown begins. So there is a Murphy's Law. If anything's supposed to go wrong, whatever you may do, it is going to go wrong. So nothing is in our hands. So I couldn't do anything. So there is a saying that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And that's how the things goes wrong. So yeah, I land up in India, and after 2 days, the lockdown begins over there, and I couldn't do my passport thing. So first 3 months, I was just sitting over there. I had happened to work from home, so that was a good thing. I happened to launch the Salesforce meetup, where it was a good thing. Like I could get my skills for Speaker Academy. So this was one of the good things. There were good things as well, but there was like a lot of offending things where there was emotional trauma. There were legal issues happening because the passport and everything was been locked down. So I couldn't do, but I was just to wait and see what happens future, where you don't know anything what is going to happen. Yeah, the story of India does not end over here. So there were like a lot of problems happening in India as well, as I mentioned, and like cyclones, rains, and a lot of things happening, emotional drama. But I'm not supposed to like bore you with all these things. And just what I will say, like what did I learn from this was it was a good detox from every day of your life. Like I'm detoxing you from Salesforce through a real topic of life. I can say that when you cannot do anything, you have to be just patient and give yourself and take a break, and let's leave it on the God or the universe. What is supposed to happen, it will happen, no matter what. However you happen to stop the storm, it is going to happen. So, and one thing was like, oh yeah, a positive thought you can think is hope. Hope will take you forward all the time. So that's what I did. The take from all this is like uh, the hope, and there are only two mistakes one can make along the road to the truth: not going all the way and not starting. It is saying by the Buddha, and it's a Zen philosophy, which I also I always believe in that as well. So in life, you have to keep moving forward. The day you stop, it is going to stop everything. No matter how silly it is, that the first step is the first step is very important going forward. So this is what I believe in each and every life of me in whatever stage I am. So the best thing is to try, and that's what I did it. And after 5 months of struggle, I land up in London very safely, and I am presenting this presentation. So I'm very happy about that. Uh, and all went smoothly in the end, as it's saying, if end goes well, everything goes well. So that's what I about to say. So in life also, you have to be prepared with these things. So that's about me. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you so much, Deepika. I'm so glad you're back.
Thank you.
Full circle. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Savannah, I think you know you're next.
All right. All right. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So first of all, just wanted to give a big thank you to Kier and Julia and my fellow Speaker Academy grads. This has been a really great experience and I highly recommend it. So tonight, I'm really excited to speak with you about one of my favorite topics, users. So this talk is for technical people looking to take their Salesforce platform to the next level by better understanding what their users want. A little bit about me, I'm Savannah. I am an American living in the UK. I am a taco fanatic, and I'm a Salesforce user turned administrator / consultant. So as someone who's been on both sides of the screen, been a user and an administrator, I have felt the struggle. I know what it feels like to just feel like tech people kind of don't get it sometimes, but I also have experienced having those users who are just kind of a pain. So that's kind of the problem that we want to get into a little bit tonight. Us tech folks and end users, we can drive each other crazy, but we also depend on each other to succeed. Yes. So my goal is to offer you a few practical tips to take you and your users from it's complicated to hard eyes. And to make things a little bit more fun, mix it up, I'm going to take some modern day dating advice and apply it to our Salesforce user context. So tip number 1 is make it clear. We have this concept in the dating world called ghosting, where you're chatting with someone, getting to know each other, and then all of a sudden they disappear. This is totally not cool. Please don't do this to people in general, but especially don't do it to our users. Some things that we can do to communicate clearly with our users are put down in writing what they can expect of us and what we can expect of them. Making sure they know how to submit requests to you or how to get in touch in case of any urgent issues. And it's always good to just proactively share updates on your project or your tickets so they know what's going on. Users want clear communication. Tip number 2 is make it obvious. So the first time my partner asked me out, I actually wasn't sure if it was a date or just as friends. It was a date, but it just goes to show how important it is to not make people guess. Our users are not detectives. So some specific things in Salesforce that we can do to make this easy is highlighting what's most important to your users right on the home page, and making sure that you have consistent layouts across the user experience. They don't have to look around to try to find what they need, and to get users involved early on in the design process so they're really excited about the system and have that vested interest. Users want a system that makes sense to them. Tip number 3 is make it personal. So in this online dating world, eventually we've got to get off the app, put the phone down, and meet face-to-face. I realize that sounds a little weird or funny in these COVID times, and we know that actually we may not be able to see potential dates or our colleagues and our end users anytime soon, but that actually makes it all the more important that we connect personally. So to do this, you can just talk about real life, talk about things outside of your day-to-day work, send someone a chat and just ask how they're doing. Please leave the jargon to the side. Outside of course, within these tech groups, yes, we can talk all our jargon, but with our users, just leave it out. And then I love this piece of advice from one of my mentors, which is embrace the haters. So don't actually take things too personally. That criticism is golden insight for you to understand how users are experiencing the system that you build. Users want to know that you care about them outside of this work project. So to sum it up for us, the major lesson is that we need to move from the relational approach. leave behind these balancing of the IOUs with our users and create that feeling of a partnership where we are working together towards a common goal. And one of my favorite quotes, Maya Angelou says, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." So think about how you make your users feel. Think about how your Salesforce system makes your users feel. Communicate clearly, design the system together, and connect personally. That's what a user wants. And that's what you need to achieve a whole new level of success with Salesforce, with your users, and maybe even in your relationships. So I just want to leave you with a bonus slide featuring some ways to level up. To dig deeper, you can check out this trail mix on Trailhead, Salesforce's learning platform, or you can connect with me, continue the conversation, and send me your favorite taco recipes on Twitter or LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck.
Very good. Thank you, Savannah.
Amazing, Savannah. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what's great about Speaker Academy is that everybody has different stories to tell as well. So it's really, from our perspective as facilitators, it's really interesting hearing the things that people have got going on in their lives and the things they can tell us about. It makes you realize how straightforward your own life is when you hear about stories like Deepika's about what she's been going through the last few months.
Definitely. And I think we had such a range of topics in this cohort, and it was I think we really got to know people through their talks, which was great.
So what I would say is, if anyone's got any questions about Speaker Academy, and you can direct them at myself and Julia, or I would think it's probably useful if you have got questions to direct them at our graduates, so you can find out what it was really like for them. So if anyone has got questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask them. Or if you don't want to, you can post into the chat and we will read them out.
Amanda has a question. You never talk, Amanda.
I know.
Such a rarity.
It's such the wallflower. I should really try.
I know. It's great to hear from you.
I know. I've actually got 3, which I wrote as I was listening to these wonderful talks, actually. So I've got 3 questions. I'm going to start with the first one, and I'm going to open them up to whoever would like to answer them. So the first one is, how did you feel at the beginning of doing the course compared to now?
Anyone?
Sure, I can go for it. I think for myself, definitely, and Julia mentioned this as well, it's a huge confidence booster. But some of the things that I found really helpful were just the really practical kind of instructions and strategies. So here's how you write an abstract, here's what you should include, here's some tips. Like those things I go over in my mind, and I've actually shared with others already. I was telling a friend recently, oh, my Speaker Academy people said, person says she runs through things 5 times. So you just like get these things in your brain and you feel, just more confident and equipped going into the future.
And that segues me to my next question, which, Savannah, you can choose to answer, or maybe someone else can answer, which is, what is the one sort of gem of a tip that you took away from Speaker Academy? What we got? We got Deepika or Mark. Maybe give a go and answer. What was your one little gem?
I'll take this one. So it's more gems, I would say. Particularly doing run-throughs with Kieran and Julia and the rest of the guys is like getting feedback on that initial presentation. Like what you've seen today is completely different than what it originally was. And just getting them few wee things from the guys to make the thing that bit better. That it makes me feel a bit more confident because I've kind of had that feedback before. So getting a second opinion is probably one of the key pieces of information that I got.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And so I'm going to pass this one to Deepika, just for fairness on the third question then. And my question is, what advice would you give to would-be speakers?
To the future speakers? Yes, definitely. It's a good stage and the medium. I would definitely ask everyone to take and participate in this. It really helps you to come and speak, even if you're not really good and confident about it, that's how it boosts your confidence and makes you speak and makes you practice to make a presentation about a certain topic and whatever the topic may be. So it really boosts your confidence and makes you feel good about it. Yeah, I would definitely advise the new speakers about it to join and participate.
Brilliant. Thank you everyone for answering the questions.
Good questions, Amanda. Great answers, everyone. I feel like it's like a marketing opportunity. It's like we placed you, Amanda.
So can I ask something? So first of all, thanks everybody. That was awesome. I know how hard it is, and they were all really, really interesting. One thing I'm going to say just before I get any further is I'm really struggling. My mind cannot cope with the fact that Amanda is so quiet and everybody else is louder. It just doesn't work. Your microphone is so quiet. My mind cannot process that at all. It's just not working. Anyway, apart from that, so I've been playing around with platform events myself a bit, Mark, and I was just really interested in what you were saying. And I wondered that you're talking about 300,000 things happening, and then you're talking about it taking 4 hours. Is that 300,000 events per day, or is that per year? I couldn't quite work that out.
It's a one day.
300,000 a day. Wow.
Yeah.
And that takes about 4 hours. So, and did you look at anything other than Process Builder to make that go any faster, or was that the fastest?
Yeah,
thing?
we did. Like we considered doing it in code and so forth, but then you're kind of limiting, to add to that. Like you seem to wanted to send emails and stuff in the future. But the nice thing about having it in the platform event is we can hook in Flow now, and at the time it was Process Builder, which was really useful for an admin person. That
was really cool. Yeah, I haven't really looked at the flows with it or even Process Builder, but I just was playing around with the platform events, and they're pretty useful things. But that's really interesting. Anyway, thanks very much.
No worries.
Yeah, it was one of my favourite tools because I've been playing around with platform events in much the same way as Mark has. So it's really nice just to hear some validation from someone else.
And this is in production now, so it does work.
Even better. Anybody else got any questions? Don't be shy.
Can I go again? Bring the quiet.
Amanda, we can't hear
you. It's actually a platform event question. So we played with platform events in a couple of companies ago. And did you experience, first of all, when you were putting together the platform events, that actually there was a surprise that it takes more events to actually run a thing? And I'm sorry, this is not a technical question because I can't express it any better. But what I'm trying to say is when we were playing with it, actually it took more events to run a process than we thought it was. And actually that caught us out. So when at the beginning we had like 50,000 a day and we smashed through that target. And actually we needed a lot more. Did you experience that at all with the volumes at all? And did you have to then just go back to Salesforce and go, give me more? What was your experience on building up?
Yeah, so it handled the volume okay. And I know like recently Salesforce did change platform events. I think they moved everybody to this high volume platform event. So maybe whenever you were looking at this, that wasn't there, could be what happened.
It was a few years ago, so yeah.
And the thing that we're still struggling with it is you can't actually see the platform event firing. You kind of just have to monitor the record to see as the updates happened, which is obviously not great, but it's hopefully something they'll improve in the future.
Cool. I'm glad you didn't have those issues in the first place, though, because that gets exciting.
Yes, I could imagine.
There we are.
Any other questions for the speakers or about the program?
I have one, and I suppose it's to the speakers about the whole course, maybe. Is there anything that specifically was covered about the kind of strange times we're in and the virtual settings? Are there points you think should be especially taken into account of when putting together a talk for a virtual meetup like this as opposed to a physical one? And if Keir and Julia didn't cover this, then why didn't they? And what would they recommend? What would they recommend, if anything?
Years of faith, Todd.
We definitely talked about it a little bit. I think it was a last minute addition to the curriculum from Jody and Kier.
The key thing, there's two key things I would say when you're presenting remotely. One is that you are tech support. So it's entirely on you to make sure your connectivity is there, your bandwidth is there. It's very different to when you're speaking at an actual event, because you just turn up like royalty and everyone runs around you and mics you up and tells you you're awesome and thanks for coming and all that. And then suddenly you've got to get all this sorted out yourself. The other thing is it's very different presenting remotely, because if it's often described as you're really presenting to one person. That's the way you've got to treat it, because you don't get any of the feedback that you get from a group. So if you say something which you think is funny, you won't get the ripple of laughter going around the room. You won't see many, you will see some people nodding, but people don't take visual cues from each other. So you don't get this kind of constant feedback from the audience. So it's, yeah, it's interesting. It's very different.
Yeah, I haven't personally done any virtual talks really. I mean, I do a lot of virtual talking at work, but I think for me, the difference and like challenging part of doing this is just kind of like the connection with other people and like making sure that people stay engaged. So making sure that you're keeping people on their toes, because they're not getting the same level of interaction that they would get if you're in person and you're gesturing and you're able to kind of see everything that's going on in the audience. But I think making a conscious effort to be really present with the audience. And I think one thing that we have talked about within Speaker Academy is that it does create this opportunity for so many more people to hear your talk. And that can be really incredible. And to be able to open that up to more people is a real opportunity, even though it's not always everyone's preferred mode of speaking.
So we have a question in the chat from Natasha. A question to all presenters. Did the skills you acquired via the Speaker Academy change any aspects of your lives already?
Loaded question.
Who wants to take that one? Who wants to take that one and tell us how it's changed
I feel
your life?
like these are like testimonials.
It changed my life.
It did change my life, so.
Yeah, we do have a few, we have other graduates of Speaker Academy rather than this go round as well.
Yeah, as I already mentioned, like right from preparing the presentations to being confident, and person like me speaking to all the tech savvy people in front of everyone, which is a big thing for me. So yeah, it really gave me a good confidence, I can say. So it really changed in that way.
Excellent.
Yeah, I agree with Deepika. It's like we're presenting here today, we wouldn't have presumably otherwise. And I think just feeling that, like we both mentioned, that confidence that for different conferences, like I just feel more comfortable applying to things that I wouldn't have previously. So in that way, just, yeah, I suppose that's a life changer.
All right. Any other questions or? No?
Just an observation from the audience side. I'd just like to thank Deepika for almost taking away my annoyance at my lawnmower wheel falling off earlier on when I was halfway through the lawn. I realised that wasn't the end of the world. Thank you.
Good perspective. Definitely. I felt that way whenever you did your talk. I'm so glad you're back. It's great to have you back in London.
Cool, okay. Well, I think if there's no more questions then, that concludes this scripted part of the evening.